Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Fire potential impacts for the next couple of days are shown here. The main impacts are going to be in the short term with some breezy winds behind the front in southeast Idaho and in portions of eastern Utah. We may see some isolated storms lingering this morning over parts of far western Wyoming and northeast Utah. Otherwise, clearing sets in for the weekend with gradual warming back up to pretty hot temperatures Saturday into Sunday. Past 24 hours of precip and lightning are shown here with that low moving through late in the day. Yesterday, we did see some storms picking up over Idaho and northeast Utah throughout the day with some pretty spotty precipitation with these storms. Initial attack activity from yesterday showed 19 new fires for 679 acres, and our large fire growth was just over 5,000 acres. Most of those acres were on the Hot Canyon fire, and then we did have a few larger fires pop up here in one in central Utah and one in the Boise area. Observed precip percent of normal for the past 30 days shows continued very dry conditions over Utah and Nevada, with slightly closer to normal conditions over Idaho with the recent precipitation there. ERCs are still on the upward trend across much of Utah, where we have some of those stations above the 90th and even the 97th percentile in some areas. These values may come down just a bit in tomorrow's readings because of the little cold front that moved through yesterday, bringing temperatures down just a bit, but it will be a limited moderation with the ridge building back in. Here we have a few sagebrush live fuel moisture samples from some of our areas. On the top there is the Carson area showing current sagebrush live fuel moistures are just barely above the historical records, very low for the time of year. And here over northwest Utah, same story. The gray line here is the 25-year average, and all of the stations are below that average and really approaching that 25-year or 22-year minimum value there. So very dry sagebrush across much of the geographic area. This morning's satellite imagery is showing the little trough moving through the Great Basin, really kind of exiting off to the east this morning, and we'll see clearing skies behind that. Again, for today, that trough moving off to the east that moved across Idaho in the overnight hours. No high risk today. Again, we do have some of those breezy winds, but they're below criteria for today. Gusty winds there along the Snake River Plain and in eastern Utah. The relative humidities are up just a bit across the north, but still fairly dry over Utah. And then precip-wise, we may just continue to see some isolated storms over far western Wyoming and northeast Utah. Maximum temperatures are down today by about 10 to 15 degrees from yesterday's highs, especially across the north, with highs near 90 degrees today. And minimum relative humidities are in the single digits across the far southern Great Basin, with values slightly higher over Idaho, especially over the central Idaho mountains, where those values will be closer to 30%. On Friday, the ridge of high pressure starts to build mainly over kind of centering over California for gradual warming and drying area-wide. Still some breezy winds along the Snake River Plain and into parts of eastern Utah on Friday, and minimum relative humidities will be in the single digits across the far southern Great Basin, slightly higher the further north you go. Still hanging on to some min RHs in the 20s across central Idaho and western Wyoming, but definitely drying out. On Saturday, same story. Ridge continues to strengthen over Southern California, bringing warm and dry conditions area-wide. No high risk with those light winds. Again, Saturday, pretty light winds, except maybe some downslope winds. A little bit breezy over the central Wasatch Mountains. And maximum temperatures start to gradually warm, so especially on their eastern and southern portions, Reno should be back up to 100 degrees by Saturday. Boise in the mid-90s, a little bit cooler further north and east. The 3-day precip totals don't show very much for precipitation with the ridge building in and sunny skies taking over the area, but just today we could see some lingering storms there over far western Wyoming and far northeast Utah. The ridge continues to dominate the weather pattern on Sunday with continued warming and drying area-wide. and that'll take us into the first of next week as well. There is a trough moving to the northern Rockies. It could bring a little bit of a backdoor cold front into just our far northeast border there with the northern Rockies, maybe bringing a little bit of chances for some precip as we head into the middle of next week. Again on Tuesday, generally dry everywhere except maybe just a little bit of a chance there across the north. And that takes us into the middle of the week. No high risk issued for anything as we head into the middle of next week. We could see some southerly moisture starting to come back up into the Great Basin. The models aren't quite resolved on that, but it might be in the second half of next work week. Precip totals for the 7 days are shown here. Again, we do see a little bit of a signal of some moisture coming back into the southern Great Basin, but the confidence is not super high in that right now. Then the extended forecast for July 17th through the 23rd keeps things warm, especially over Idaho, much above normal temperatures expected there. And we still see this above normal signal for precipitation, especially over the southwest, but sending some higher chances into Utah and Nevada as well. That concludes today's briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.